Hello and welcome. Today we are going to deal with a very interesting chapter, ruling the countryside. I'm going to make this easy for you. So let's get into it. Most company officials began to think that investment in land had to be encouraged and agriculture had to be improved. Hence, they introduced a system known as permanent settlement in 1793. By the terms of the settlement, the Rajas and Talukdars were recognized as zamindars. So, what was their duty? Their duty was to collect rent from the peasants and pay revenue to the company. The amount paid was fixed permanently. Hence, it was called as permanent settlement. But there were problems in this. The zamindars were not investing in improvement of land because the revenue which was fixed was very high, and if they failed to pay, they lost their zamindari. The rent which peasants had to pay was also very high, so the peasants had to take loan. So we can easily say that this system was very oppressive. So they had to introduce a new system, and that's what they did. They introduced a new system. An Englishman named Holt Mackenzie in 1822 introduced a new system. Under his direction, collectors went from village to village surveying every plot of land, and they estimated a revenue that each group had to pay, which was also called as mahal. Let's see how this operated. The charge of collecting the revenue and paying it to the company was given to village headmen. This system was known as Mahalwari settlement. This was all happening in the northwestern provinces of Bengal. But what about the south then? The new system which was introduced in the south was called as Rotwar or Rotwari. It was started on a small scale by Captain Alexander Reed, but it was developed by Thomas Munro. Hence, it was called as the Munro system. Munro thought that the British should act as a parental father figure, protecting the rights under their charge. All was not going as it was planned. British also realized that the countryside could not only yield revenue, it could also grow crops that Europe required. Let's see what happens next. Britishers forced the cultivators from various parts of India to grow crops. They forced people to grow jute in Bengal, tea in Assam, sugarcane in Uttar Pradesh, wheat in Punjab, and rice in Madras. Let's see what happens next. The demand for indigo was growing day by day, and by the 13th century, Indian indigo was used by cloth manufacturers in France, Britain as dye, but the small amount was reaching the European market, and the European market depend a lot on wood. But the cloth dyers preferred indigo because it gave rich blue color. They did not prefer wood because it was pale and dull. Because of its high demand, many countries started indigo plantation. For example, French started indigo plantation in Saint Domingo in Caribbean islands, English in Jamaica, and the Spanish in Venezuela. So the British turned their eyes towards India. Let's see what happens next. Indigo was cultivated in India following two systems, niche and rarity. What happened in niche? The planters produced indigo in a land he directly controlled. Under the system of rarity, planters forced ryots to sign a contract. Advance money was paid to cultivate. But what happened was, in order for a substantial amount of indigo to be cultivated, a peasant had to cultivate 25% of his total area, which was quite a lot. The problem with both these systems was very similar. The planters insisted that indigo must be cultivated on the best soil, which peasants usually preferred to cultivate rice. Now remember, indigo plant had deep roots and it exhausted the soil rapidly. After an indigo harvest, the land could not be sown with rice. This led to Blue Rebellion. In March 1859, peasants in Bengal refused to grow indigo and they attacked indigo factories with swords and spears, and women came out with pots, pans, and kitchen implements. Also, during this time, Lieutenant Governor was also having a tour of this place. Riots felt that they can get some sympathy about their plight, about their suffering, about their pain. And the word of this situation reached Queen Victoria. And so Queen Victoria declared that indigo need not be sown. Let's look at the last part, Champaran movement. Mahatma Gandhi, after he returned from South Africa, one of the peasants from Bihar forced Gandhiji to visit Champaran in Bihar to see the plight, see the suffering of indigo cultivators. This was the beginning of Champaran movement against indigo planters. So that's it for today. If you have not already subscribed to this channel,